Tonight's supermarket arrest, the moment police swoop on young parents accused of murdering a top Adelaide surgeon. Exclusive pictures. Also breaking news, a royal commission to be held into family violence following several tragic deaths. A 53-year-old cyclist struck down and killed in a crash outside a school. Bad news for cherry lovers, why you might have to go without this Christmas. And protest denied, Usman Khawaja banned from displaying a pro-Palestinian message in the first test.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Mike Smithson.
Good evening. We begin with explosive new claims about the home invasion murder of respected Adelaide doctor Michael Young. Police claim a young Theberton couple with a baby bashed him to death during a violent altercation, then stole first aid supplies to treat their injuries. Tonight, 7 News has exclusive video of their dramatic arrest.
At the Torrensville Plaza, a 2-day murder manhunt comes to a dramatic end. Cara Maiden is tackled to the ground. His fiancée, Jacinta de Villa, pushing their baby's pram, makes a run for it. Heavily armed Star Group officers moving in just after 6:30 last night. The couple taken into custody and charged with the horrific murder of Dr Michael Young.
There's no other suspects being sought by detectives at this time.
Prosecutors claim 22-year-old Aiden and 27-year-old de Villa used a ladder to break into the paediatrician's Gilberton home through a bedroom window fly screen early on Monday morning. A scream was heard, and soon after, the 61-year-old was found in a pool of his own blood. He suffered critical head and spinal injuries. Major crime detectives are still piecing together why the parents of an 8-month-old baby
Hello, Cookie. Say hello, Cookie.
would attack an innocent man in his own home. But they've ruled out any links with a gang of thieves behind a recent crime series.
The motive is not known to me at this point, but that's part of the investigation.
But court documents reveal it'll be alleged the couple was there to rob Dr Young. Today, Kiri Maiden was sporting facial injuries as he arrived at court. Police claim it's those injuries the couple was treating in the public toilets at the Torrensville Plaza last night before they were arrested. They're accused of stealing a first aid kit from the Drake supermarket. And police were watching.
That speaks to some pretty strong police work that is commendable.
Detectives today searching the couple's home. The accused couple has lived in this Theberton unit with their baby daughter for the past 8 months. 7 News understands both are unemployed and they were weeks behind in rent. Dr Young's family has paid tribute to the respected paediatrician, saying he was a loving and loved father, son, brother, uncle and cousin. His death has left a hole in our hearts that will never be filled. In lieu of flowers, they're asking for donations to the Catherine Brown Young Scholarship Fund, set up by the 61-year-old in his late wife's honour to help Indigenous medical students. A hero doctor who helped so many South Australians in life and now in death. Hannah Ford, 7 News.
Live now to Hayden Nelson, who was in court this afternoon. And Hayden, the couple faces months behind bars.
They do, Mike. Karim Aiden did not apply for bail, but his fiancée, who had her own lawyer, did. Jacinta de Villa wept as she appeared via video link, at one point crying out, "My baby." The court heard she's effectively the sole parent of the couple's 8-month-old daughter and fell pregnant during a one-night stand. Prosecutors urged the magistrate not to release her, claiming there's a risk she would tamper with evidence. They claim bloodstained clothes have been recovered from a washing machine at the couple's Theberton unit, along with bloodstained shoes containing glass fragments. Is there anything you want to say to Dr Young's family?
Not today, sorry, thank you.
Prosecutors and de Villa's lawyer told the court it would take up to 12 months for forensic testing to be completed, but the magistrate questioned the delays, suggesting it should take a priority. He also ordered a home detention report be prepared, but that means de Villa will be behind bars until another bail hearing next week. Mike?
Thanks for that, Hayden. A major blow tonight for a convicted Adelaide killer who spent 4 decades behind bars for a crime he says he didn't commit. Derek Bromley's final High Court freedom bid has been thrown out, but supporters say he's earned his place in the community.
Derek Bromley is Australia's longest-serving Indigenous prisoner. He spent 4 decades behind bars for the murder of Stephen DeCosa, whose body was found floating in the River Torrens in 1984. Today, a crushing blow. His final bid for freedom, based on fresh evidence, was rejected by the High Court of Australia.
It's devastating. I don't know how he has survived. I don't know how he has maintained his humanity, his sanity.
Bromley continues to maintain his innocence.
He's quite stoic. I know him well enough to know how deeply he would be feeling the ongoing injustice.
The appeal was dismissed by a majority of the judges.
It's the cruelest of decisions because 2 High Court judges would have acquitted and 3 wouldn't have granted leave to appeal. I mean, how polarised can it be?
That to me actually drove a real knife in.
Bromley has been denied parole on at least 4 occasions because he refuses to take responsibility for the murder, but says he won't confess to a crime he didn't commit.
It's one of South Australia's great miscarriages of justice.
If you want to talk in terms of is he reformed, he's transformed.
A fresh bid for parole is expected to come as early as this Friday.
Enough is enough. Let him come home to his family.
Deanna Williams, 7 News.
To breaking news, and Premier Peter Malinauskas has called a royal commission into family and domestic violence. Let's go live now to Kimberly Pratt. Kim, this is an extraordinary step in the state's fight against domestic violence.
It sure is, Mike. The announcement came just minutes ago following a roundtable with a number of high-profile campaigners who work in the sector, charity organisations, police and even prominent DV activist Rosie Batty, many of whom have been demanding this independent inquiry in South Australia for some time. But the deaths of 5 women in 18 days last month has prompted this drastic response.
There is a need for a Royal Commission in South Australia into family and domestic violence.
We cannot keep doing the same as what we've been doing because we are failing too many people.
The government has committed $3 million to the inquiry and hopes to have a commissioner and the terms of reference finalised by early 2024. It's also set a timeline of 12 months so as to not delay potential changes any longer. Victoria was the first to hold a royal commission of this kind in 2015. That resulted in 227 recommendations, which over the past 8 years have all been implemented with a total investment of almost $4 billion. Let's hope today's announcement will deliver a clear plan to reduce violence here over the next decade. Mike.
Thanks, Kim. A 53-year-old cyclist has died after being struck by a car outside a Fullerton school during the morning drop-off. Witnesses say a bobcat driver desperately tried to free the man who was trapped under the vehicle.
During the morning school rush hour, a scene no child should see. Police surround a 53-year-old man killed while riding down Wattle Street. Investigators honing in on the driver's door of this Isuzu SUV. Witnesses say the Fullerton local was knocked off balance before being tragically run over by this Mercedes.
I was quite traumatised.
A passing tradie towing a bobcat helped free the cyclist trapped under the sedan.
A truck came and lifted the car off, and we dragged him out. They were doing CPR on him and they were there for a long time.
The horrifying incident happened shortly after 8 a.m. in front of young students being dropped off at Sunrise Christian School. Major crash investigators closed the road for nearly 5 hours.
Locals say this street is often busy with cyclists and they feared a tragedy like this.
It's scary stuff. I mean, I try to be as visible as I can, but you do rely on people being sober and alert and not distracted.
108 lives have now been lost on SA's roads this year, compared with 66 this time last year. He's also the 8th cyclist added to this year's toll. Tom Johnson, 7 News.
Security cameras have captured the dramatic arrest of a woman following a pursuit through the southern suburbs. The 39-year-old from Christie Downs dropped to her knees and put her hands behind her head when caught by police at Lonsdale.
Crazy. She's obviously knows she's done something wrong and she's just running scared, looking for a place to hide, and of course she enters a cul-de-sac. Where's she got to go?
The woman's car was first spotted by patrols speeding on Dorset Street just after 11:30. Polair tracked it to Arwan Court, where the woman got out and tried to hide behind a shipping container. She's been charged with a string of driving offences. And if you haven't picked up your Christmas cherries, sadly, it might be too late. Adelaide's unseasonable wet weathers left them in short supply and prices are about to go through the roof.
Our wild summer storms have wreaked havoc and now they're threatening to ruin Christmas for cherry lovers.
It's a really taking a toll on the fruit.
And it's flowing through the checkout. At least one stall at the Central Market was charging $50 a kilo today.
Might not buy as many this year.
And the price of Christmas cherries could go even higher. Local growers predict South Australians could be paying $60 a kilo by next week, double the price this time last year.
I think with the cost of living pressures, that it's a bit doubtful, isn't it, for lots of people?
That's too much. That's pretty a lot. It's way too expensive, I think, for ordinary everyday people.
This is why recent heavy rain has damaged more than half the cherries at Adelaide Hills orchards, like this one at Verdun.
And it's not so much crop loss, it's more like fruit split, and then obviously that then leads to rot issues. We could be looking at sort of $60,000 to $70,000 in lost revenue.
Tom says he'll open to public pickers this weekend in a bid to recoup some of his losses. He knows of several growers who won't bother, already writing off this year's crop entirely.
We'll probably have to discount it a bit this year just to get obviously people to come in and pick.
Mitchell Sariovsky, 7 News.
2 bakery workers have watched their SUVs go up in flames at the Mount Barker shopping centre. They smelled smoke just before 3:30 a.m. and went to investigate in the underground car park. The Apprentice Baker's Nissan initially caught fire, but the blaze quickly spread to the boss's Hyundai parked next to it.
Just a big ball of flame, like the whole car was just covered in flames.
We could feel the heat of it over by the entrance over there, so that was pretty bad, and the smoke was pretty shocking.
Investigators say the fire is not suspicious. Far North Queenslanders are bracing for a direct hit from tropical cyclone Jasper. The Category 2 storm has intensified as it moves closer to land and is expected to cross the coast in the next hour.
The unwanted South Pacific visitor, Jasper, lingering offshore for days, preparing to make landfall with a punch. 130 km/h plus winds that brought down trees and broke fences at the base. Steel bolts snapped. Authorities today upgrading it from Category 1 to 2, escalating warnings as well.
Due to the amount of rain and wind, please shelter in place.
But even as it crossed between Cooktown and Mossman, some seasoned cyclone watchers were refusing to acknowledge the threat.
It's a tropical low, it's not a cyclone.
It's big, but it's not big.
Former Hollywood stuntwoman Tiffany Lynn worked with John Wayne and Marlon Brando. Jasper is a B grade.
Sit in my hot tub and watch the wind go by.
But while the Bureau reports Jasper may not be record-breaking, it is record-making.
Seeing a tropical cyclone develop in December during an El Niño year is quite rare. In fact, we've not had one on the record since the record's begun.
And some have prepared, moving boats up into inlets for protection. Here, the massive Quicksilver catamarans.
The next 24 hours will be critical.
The Navy got in early too, racing to rescue 4 Weather Bureau staff from remote Willis Island, almost 500 kilometres offshore. It's unsure who stayed behind to get the final shot. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Veteran rocker Jimmy Barnes has suffered a new medical emergency. Grace Fitzgibbon is at St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney. Grace, Jimmy revealed he needed open heart surgery to replace a damaged valve.
Yes, Mike, the 67-year-old Cold Chisel singer has been in hospital with pneumonia since the end of last month. But this morning, Barnesy took to social media saying the bacterial infection I've been battling over the last fortnight has apparently now spread to my heart. It has infected an otherwise healthy valve that was replaced some years ago. Jimmy Barnes says he was due for open heart surgery this afternoon to clear out the infection and put in a clear valve. And Barnesy, despite all of this, was still thinking of his fans. He's asking people to please be patient with him while his team works out what this may mean for any upcoming shows. Mike?
Thanks, Grace, and good luck, Jimmy. Engineered stone will be banned nationwide after state and territory ministers signed off on a draft agreement this afternoon. It supports the findings of a major report linking engineered stone to lung disease in tradies.
the decision that's been made by the various levels of government today will save lives. We know that as many as 1 in 4 workers that are using engineered stone are contracting silicosis.
The ban will come into place on July the 1st. A group of angry residents is demanding greater transparency from West Torrens Council over money being given to the Crows for their new headquarters. The 5031 Action Group grilled at the council last night over the $30 million in rate discounts and construction costs offered to the Adelaide Football Club.
We have no breakdown of what that expenditure is going to be. Council has a responsibility to understand exactly how ratepayers' money is going to be spent.
The club's due to sign a lease with council next week and the saga continues.
A few rival supporters in the midst at West Torrens maybe.
Yeah, I better go down with my Crows gear, I reckon. Hey, Soda, what's coming up?
Well, speaking of the Crows, Mike, look, they've been smashing through the training workload this week in pre-season with a couple of problematic injuries for key players. We'll tell you who and what they've done. We're also going to hear from Usman Khawaja, who's been forced to backtrack on his wish to wear his heart on his sleeve. Well, in fact, it's actually his heart on his shoes, more of that. And we'll meet the Adelaide team with a ticket to the big league in the US. All that and plenty more coming up shortly, Mike.
Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, Soda. Well, a new and improved relationship between Oz Harvest and Adelaide Oval couldn't have come at a better time. That story right after the break. Also, Australian politicians take a first-hand tour of the conflict in Israel. Later, former British PM Boris Johnson lends his support to the AUKUS agreement, and the AI visitor who's keeping nursing home residents on their toes. Adelaide Oval is known for its sporting heroics, but deep in the bowels of the stadium, some everyday heroes are getting to work. A major charity is making use of the first-class kitchen facilities, dishing up meals for thousands of South Aussies doing it tough.
At Adelaide Oval today, the only thing being rolled was the gnocchi. Seven's Casey Treloar was helping Oz Harvest volunteers prepare meals in the stadium's commercial kitchen, a new partnership that'll allow the charity to reach more South Australians.
So people are making really tough choices between bills, medical expenses and food, and often food is the thing that has to go.
Oz Harvest will prepare thousands of meals at the Oval each week, using surplus stock from corporate donors. The dishes will then be handed out to those in need through partnering charities.
If there's a way that we can, make some contributions to improve the lives of vulnerable people, then, we're really proud to support that.
97-year-old Jim Miles has been volunteering at the charity's Victor Harbour site for nearly 10 years.
I just feel grateful that I'm able to do what I'm doing.
The Premier also lent a helping hand, picking up stock from Woolies at Mitcham, where he worked his first job.
Making a valuable contribution to ensure that food doesn't end up in landfill and instead is actually going to those people who are in need in our community.
Over the next 3 years, this valuable partnership will put 300,000 meals in front of South Australian families in need.
The cost of living, I think, is affecting everyone in some way.
Madison Stanley, 7 News.
Lovely story. Well, the UN General Assembly has voted in support of a ceasefire to end the fighting between Israel and Hamas, but it can't be enforced. A group of Australian MPs has travelled to Israel, describing confronting scenes in a town which came under attack.
The chaos after another airstrike on Gaza's southern border. There is a clamour to rescue survivors and fresh panic in a corner of the enclave where hundreds of thousands were told to seek safety, as Palestinians now fear aerial attack and hunger. Claims 1 million people have nothing to eat as aid agencies struggle.
They are starving because of Israel's deliberate use of starvation as a weapon of war.
Israel says it's targeting Hamas. It's doing so with bipartisan Australian support. A group of opposition and backbench Labor MPs touring Israeli kibbutz Kfar Aza.
RPG, grenade?
Yeah, this is RPG.
One scene of Hamas's deadly attacks on October 7.
To actually see the devastation, the carnage, the horror, is another level of depravity that I actually struggle to believe that humans can be capable of.
A united call for Hamas to be eliminated.
It's a deeply confronting experience, but it is also a powerful reminder of the atrocities that occurred.
Foreign Minister Penny Wong is due to visit next month. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
2 Australian-made COVID vaccines are in the works to tackle new variants of the virus. It's hoped that one will soon be available in nasal form.
The previous vaccinations or the previous infections that people have had with, say, Omicron, they don't really protect against the new escape variants. If we want to end the pandemic, we need to be able to end these waves of infection.
Both vaccines are still in the clinical trial stages. A woman who gave birth in the middle of a Melbourne street has been reunited with the paramedic who helped deliver her baby. Catherine Robbins was expecting a long labour, but baby Madison had other ideas. Husband Nick was forced to direct traffic.
I was like, yeah, we can make it in the car, it's fine. I took 2 steps and went, call the ambulance.
Good idea. The family was able to leave hospital just 6 hours after being admitted. Time for a quick check of the weather now with Casey, who joins us from a brand new events space at Morfettville. And Case, it's a perfect evening to check it out.
Mike, outside the skies have finally started to clear and the sun is finally starting to shine. These clear and calm conditions perfect for the very first guests arriving now here at the brand new Wolf Blass Event Centre. The $21 million building was funded by the South Australian Jockey Club and will be a great venue addition for race meets here at Morfettville. That means that spectator capacity around the track can increase from 3,000 to 4,000. Not just race days though, it is available every day of the year for everything from corporate functions to private parties and weddings too. As for your weather, there's some milder and some daggy conditions in the days ahead. I'll have more on that in your full forecast shortly.
Getting used to daggy, all right. Well, claims Brittany Higgins feared losing her job if she reported her rape allegation have come under scrutiny. That's coming up next. Also, firefighters duck for cover as exploding gas cylinders send flames flying. The aged care home using artificial intelligence to keep residents on their toes. And later, a diver captures his own shark attack on GoPro camera. To breaking news now, and South Australian teachers have voted to accept their latest pay offer, all but ruling out more disruptive strikes. Public school teachers will receive a 13% pay rise over 4 years and an additional hour of planning time a week.
I'd like to be on record and thank our members for the really strong action that they undertook over the course of the year.
68% of teachers voted to accept the deal. The Bruce Lerman defamation trial has delved into what a key witness called murky territory. Under question was whether Brittany Higgins was correct in fearing she would lose her job if she reported her alleged rape.
It was one of Brittany Higgins' headline claims.
And a young woman forced to choose between her career and the pursuit of justice.
Today, Bruce Lerman's lawyer put it to program producer Angus Llewellyn there were inconsistencies in Higgins' account, whether then Minister Reynolds and her chief of staff were supportive of her going to police or it meaning she wouldn't have a job. What she was saying was contradictory. It's murky, opaque territory. She was unable to articulate anything that had actually been said or done that put her under pressure not to go to the police. Llewellyn called the Minister's Chief of Staff a very smart, clever, respected operator. So is Minister Reynolds. They wouldn't say something overtly like that, with Higgins talking about a, quote, strange culture of silence. In a recording, Llewellyn tells Brittany Higgins and her fiancé about contacting Lerman a reasonable time before the show. I want to suggest that what you were saying to them, don't worry, we'll do a number on Bruce Lerman. That's a ridiculous suggestion and completely incorrect. Llewellyn arguing Lerman was given plenty of time to respond, reaching out by email and phone 3 days before the show. In a statement, Llewellyn says Lisa Wilkinson originally described this as a, quote, explosive political story and an extraordinary cover-up. She faces her first questions in the witness box tomorrow. Paul Caddock, 7 News.
Firefighters have been forced to take cover from exploding gas bottles as flames engulfed a garage in Sydney. The explosions also sent projectiles soaring into the air. The adjoining home was gutted, but no one was injured. An aged care home is turning to artificial intelligence to help keep residents happy. A robot that can hold its own in a conversation is quickly gaining popularity as a regular visitor.
At Montclair Aged Care, entertainer Frank is upstaged by a robot half his height.
He did the monster man.
This is Abby. She comes from a 3D printer, can hold conversation, blow bubbles, and keep a crowd of elderly residents entertained.
I'm talking platypuses, deer, yabbies in the lake, you name it.
Abby is the creation of mechatronics engineer Grace Brown on a mission to defeat loneliness.
We're using technology and building a product that can help, improve the quality of lives for people who are often very overlooked.
The $10,000 robot's doing its job.
Without doing things like the STEM program and Abby, they'd be still doing bingo and sing-alongs. So I think aged care is more than that.
Abby's creator acknowledges some parallels with Megan.
I won't let anything harm you.
A high-tech killer robot in a Hollywood horror movie.
I won't lie, I love the movie. Similar concept, but not evil.
No death stares here.
Abby, what are your hopes and dreams?
Well, one of my dreams is to be upgraded with the latest AI technology, so I can do even more amazing things.
Grace is working on it.
I believe that within the next decade that humanoid robots will be as prevalent as dogs.
Just think of all the problems you could solve and all the wisdom you could impart.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has thrown his support behind the AUKUS nuclear-powered sub deal. That's coming up next. Also, the lost dogs with 3.6 million reasons to wag their tails. And later, the moment a shark attack caught on a diver's GoPro camera. It'll soon cost more to get a new passport, and late fees on tax returns are no longer tax deductible. The Treasurer revealed the new measures in today's federal budget update.
Jim Chalmers updates his passport to economic recovery.
Responsible economic management is a defining feature of this budget update.
Partly funded by yet another passport price hike. From next July, 5-year passports up from $164 to $188, 10-year to $374, raising $350 million.
A relatively modest change to passport fees of 15%.
3 times inflation following a 6% rise in January, 21% in 18 months.
I don't think it's fair at all. Everything's gone up. They want to put more up. It's disgusting.
It's not looking great, especially since we plan to go overseas later this year.
No new cost of living relief in the budget update, but another cost increase. Late fees on tax returns no longer themselves tax deductible, raising $500 million a year. The outlook, inflation higher for longer, real wages growth lower.
Didn't help families, didn't help the Reserve Bank in the fight against inflation.
More tax, more spend, more immigration, and more mortgage pain.
After this year's surprise surplus, predicting a small $1.1 billion deficit next year.
We are not yet forecasting a second surplus, but we are within striking distance.
The likely plan, that deficit does become a second surplus in the May budget, with more cost of living relief then, just in time for the next election.
We are getting the budget in much better nick and making more room for our priorities.
The biggest priority? Remaining in power. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has arrived in Australia, urging America to stick to the AUKUS Pact. US Congress voted for a get-out clause if the nuclear-powered subs deal is no longer in its interests.
Does that leave Australia and potentially Britain out in the cold?
I think it's very important that we develop not just the Pillar 1, which is the nuclear submarines, but the Pillar 2, which is all the technological sharing as well.
Mr Johnson is also meeting with Ukrainian refugees on his trip to Sydney. Time now for a check on the markets with Angela Cox, and a good day for the resources sector.
That's right, the ASX 200 closed 23 points higher. Strong iron ore prices pushing Fortescue and Rio Tinto to new share price highs. Sigma Healthcare shares surged after a merger deal with Chemist Warehouse. Health insurer NIB also performed well. The Australian buying 65 US cents and $1.07 New Zealand. There's that iron ore price, 135 US dollars a tonne, defying expectations. Oil continues its 7-week decline. And new data shows 37% of Australians are still working from home. That's down from 40% at the height of the pandemic, but still much higher than before COVID. Most are managers and professionals. The trend not so common in other occupations.
A horror shark bite has been caught on a diver's GoPro camera. See the video of the moment. The Italian backpacker came under attack. Don't miss that story a little later in 7 News. Dear oh dear. A 99-year-old woman's left more than $3 million to the Lost Dogs Home. Her record-breaking donation will be used to rebuild a key shelter in Melbourne's southeast.
All of these delightful dogs depend on hefty handouts, but no one was expecting a $3.6 million parting gift.
Wonderful surprise for us and a beautiful way to help us care for more animals.
Joy Christensen died in 2020 at the ripe old age of 99.
She was brought up on a cattle farm in regional Victoria, so I think she's always been surrounded by pets and animals, and she had a very deep respect for them.
A widow with no siblings or children, the money came from the sale of her Brighton home, money that will now improve the Lost Dogs facility in Cranbourne.
We'd love to be able to build a new veterinary clinic and also a new adoption centre there.
Mrs Christensen had adopted animals from the home and told them in 2015, "I want the home to be able to continue the wonderful and dedicated work they are doing to help all lost innocent animals. It's important for me to know that all the lost animals are well cared for and given a second chance in a happy home."
Joy by name, joy by nature. She's going to bring so much joy to thousands and thousands of animals into the future. What a beautiful legacy for Joy to have left.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Sure is. Now time for sport, and Soder, an emotional Usman Khawaja spoken up.
Yeah, very passionate was he. He wanted to wear his heart on his sleeve, but he's been told no. We'll tell you all about that in just a moment. Also coming up, Captain Cummins goes into bat for Khawaja as Australia's leadership looks to the future. Check out this early catch of the year contender in the Big Bash. Very nice indeed. And Reds super stopper Joe Gauci facing the most important month of his career. Hello again. Usman Khawaja has responded after being forced to backtrack on his desire to wear a pro-Palestine statement on his shoes. Captain Pat Cummins threw his support behind the opener as Australia hinted at its skipper in waiting.
Another social cause backed by Captain Cummins, but Khawaja's pro-Palestine protest dismissed.
What I've written on my shoes isn't political. I'm not taking sides. Human life to me is equal.
Yeah, I don't think his intention is to make too big of a fuss, but we support him.
I imagine my 2 girls. What if this was them?
The charismatic opener letting his boots do the talking at training, but game day will be different. His message, all lives are equal, isn't permitted by the ICC. Cricket Australia supports Khawaja's stance, but says he will uphold the rules.
I think it's one of our strongest points, our team, is that everyone has their own passionate views.
As Australia prepares for a generational change, Warner's on the way out, Smith in the twilight of his career, and Cummins won't lead forever, with SA's Travis Head appointed vice-captain for the next 2 years.
He's always been a leader in our group, so we thought it was a good time to formally recognise that.
Pakistan hasn't won a test in Australia since the SCG in 1995. There's been the occasional highlight.
Oh, he's bowled him! Oh, it's all happening. That's superb cricket. Wacky Yunus knocks over Ricky Ponting.
But they've been few and far between.
The challenge for our guys would be to adapt as quickly as possible.
Tomorrow's first test is live and free on 7 from midday. Theodoropoulos, 7 News.
Well, an early contender for catch of the Big Bash helped the Heat beat the Thunder.
What a catch! Michael Nisa! It's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's Nisa!
Yeah, very nice. Brisbane remains undefeated after the 20-run win. Well, 7 News can reveal veteran Rory Sloane has suffered a hamstring injury in a bruising final week of pre-Christmas training. Dashing defender Wayne Miller also failed to finish today's session with a similar problem.
Sloane was all alone running laps at Richmond Oval on light duties after suffering a minor hamstring tear. Wayne Miller with his own sore hammy, failing to finish a session that had plenty of grunt. They're both expected to be back after Christmas. So is Irishman Carl Gallagher, who'll receive a rookie spot after a successful 3-week trial. Player favourite Jacob Legend Milbank also with cause to celebrate his 35th birthday.
We're going to make this in finals and a grand final.
Solar power on the Gold Coast as Port Adelaide players sweated it out on day 2 of their training camp in front of former skipper and coach Matty Primus, while new defensive coach Tyson Goldsack put his ideas and new players into practice.
I'm still getting my head around it. I had my first meeting today, so all about team defence and how we're going to try and defend other teams.
Going around the grounds, and Bulldogs star Bailey Smith's season's over before it began, with the heartbreaking news he's torn his ACL. At St Kilda, key forward Tim Membry has returned in great shape after taking a mental health break on the eve of the finals.
Yeah, we're really expecting he can really deliver, and he's been a real leader here for a long time. He's in really good shape. He's really blossoming. He feels good.
Josh Money, 7 News.
Adelaide United goalkeeper Joe Gauci is facing the most important month of his career. A fractured cheek to Socceroos #1 Matt Ryan has potentially opened up a starting spot at January's Asian Cup.
For me, if I can keep the ball out the net and keep a clean sheet and be successful for Adelaide, then the result of that could be that I get selected for the national team.
Gauci also had some advice for future Socceroo Nestri Aaron Kunda after the teenager was in tears when he was subbed off in the 2-0 loss to Brisbane.
That's something that I think he needs to keep in check, but I also understand he's extremely young. I could never really understand the sort of pressure that is put under him externally, as also internally.
Well, netball's pay war with its players has finally been resolved with a new 3-year agreement. Super netballers will receive an 11% pay rise as well as a revenue share in the growth of the game.
There's just this real excitement now, definitely relief. It has been a really long and challenging process, especially in the current cost of living crisis and really edging closer to Christmas.
Players hadn't been paid since September. The potential average salary rises to $89,000. Well, Adelaide's history-making Major League Baseballer Curtis Mead could see a familiar face in the US next season. 18-year-old Giants outfielder Drew Davies has signed with the Cincinnati Reds, revealing Mead was an inspiration.
To see what he's done has been really good for not only me but all the young Australian baseballers that want to go somewhere.
Davies has his eyes on a Giants debut before heading overseas. The latter leaders start a 4-game series in Canberra tomorrow. And Mike, that's our look at sport. Stars host the Scorchers tonight in the BBL. That's coming up straight after the news. And of course, the first test tomorrow. Trav Head, vice captain for a couple of years.
Here's my tip, Soda. If we win the toss and bat, Travis will be good for 100. Dead set. Kiss of death.
Yeah, he's in big trouble, isn't he? No, he'll be good. He'll be good. Good luck, Trav.
Thanks for that, Soda. Well, tonight we can show you the moment an Italian backpacker was attacked by a shark off Queensland. The 20-year-old's friend was told how he watched the horror unfold from the sand, fearing he was about to lose a mate.
Man versus wild caught on camera. This is the moment 20-year-old Matteo Mariotti's life flashed before his eyes.
I saw everything from the shore. I see every moment.
Matteo and fellow backpacker Tommaso Agosti were driving from Cairns to the Gold Coast. Both keen lovers of the ocean, they stopped at the coastal town of 1770.
I didn't want to go inside the water. I just told him maybe it was dangerous.
And it was. Matteo was attacked by a tiger shark in shallow waters.
It was yelling me many times to help. I tried to put something on his leg because at the first moment I saw the leg was up.
He was airlifted to hospital where his leg was amputated, telling Italian media,
"My leg hurts a lot. I'm very tired. I have a hard time eating, but I'll be okay. I love all of you a lot."
Matteo remains here at the Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital. The backpacker's father is right now on his way from Italy and is expected to arrive tomorrow to take his son home. More than €50,000 has been raised to help Matteo's family.
The worst days are gone, but mentally it's totally it's the worst thing.
A once-in-a-lifetime holiday they'd rather forget. Anna McGraw, 7 News.
Time now to find Adelaide's favourite Christmas lights display. This merry makeover on Casuarina Avenue in Surrey Downs was judged the best in the northern suburbs in the Mix 102.3 Christmas lights competition. Runner-up went to this Andrews farmhouse at Petherton Road, lit up with 10,000 lights, all programmed through a custom-built controller. These displays are in the mix for the People's Choice Prize, which you can vote on at mix1023.com.au. Stay with us after the break. The volunteer army of Santa's helpers packing Christmas hampers for families.
We're in for a few cold days, then some warmth is on the way. I'll be back with your full forecast coming up live from Morfordville.
He's triumphed with the Aussies across the world and stars for our strikers. Now, Adelaide's Alex Carey reports to you on 7 News.
I'll take you inside the summer of cricket on 7 News.
Alex Carey takes the catch.
Inside the Big Bash, inside the tests, Alex Carey, exclusive to 7 News.
For Adelaide's latest news and more, tune in to 5AA Breakfast tomorrow morning.
Time for more on the weather now with Casey, who joins us again from Morfordville. And Case, we've still got some gloomy weather to come.
Mike, you'd hardly know it given the sunny view up here from Morfordville's brand new event centre. But yes, in the days ahead, there is a few gloomy and daggy conditions on the way. Fortunately, though, a gorgeous evening here tonight for the opening of the brand new Wolf Blass Event Centre. Dozens of guests are here tonight as the very first to enjoy what's on offer. It will be opened up for race days, of course, and is also available for corporate functions and private events like weddings too. And I reckon it has one of the best views around the city. Now, in the city today, we did reach a top of 24.1. Our low was 16.1, and it's still around 22 degrees now. Around the state, we did see a few light showers around central parts and also down in the southeast. Temperatures were mostly a few degrees below average around the state, except for down in the southeast. Again, Narracourt today hitting a top of 30 degrees. On the charts, a broad trough of low pressure is starting to disappear to our southeast. Then we've got a ridge of high pressure and southerly winds, and that'll see temperatures stay on the mild side over the next few days. Meanwhile, Cyclone Jasper is just starting to hit the far north Queensland coast now and will continue its way inland tomorrow. Sydney is in for a hot and stormy day, heading for a top of 37. Storms could possibly be severe, and a sunny 29 degrees over in Perth. Back home, temperatures will mostly be above 30 degrees around northern parts. Cloud clearing and 26 is the top for Port Augusta. Some morning cloud and 24 for Whyalla, 29 for Renmark. A morning shower or two and 22 the top for Clare. Dry skies and 24 for Murray Bridge. A possible shower and 21 for Victor Harbour and Narracourt, and down in Mount Gambier, a shower or two with a top of 20 degrees. For the city, down to 16, then a top of 22, and it'll be a bit of a gloomy start with low cloud in the morning, likely to produce a possible shower or two. On metro waters, westerly winds to 20 knots, turning southwesterly to 15 knots, seas to 1.5 metres. Looking ahead, just 21 degrees is the top Friday, 22 Saturday. Sunday, mostly sunny and 29, then up to 32 on Monday, but a cool change is expected to hit sometime later that day, resulting in cooler conditions mid next week. And before I go, let's take a look at tonight's ray of sunshine. It's not Santa's North Pole workshop, but it might as well be, with hundreds of Christmas hampers on the production line. This is Anglicare SA's almighty Christmas mission. Volunteers are busy packing the goodies for those doing it tough, which will then be loaded into the Hope-mobile. Kyneton's Bakery's famous Christmas puddings among the sweet treats set to make someone's day this festive season. Now, of course, Anglicare doesn't only aim to help people in need around the festive season. Of course, they try and help people right around the state keep on track all year round. So great to see them doing that at this time of year.
Sure is. Thanks for that, Kate, and giddy up down there. Now, a quick look at what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Buy now, pay later, Christmas splurge. The 7 simple steps to clear your debt drama-free after the festive season. And Santa's Sunrise giveaway, $40,000 worth of gifts. The Sunrise 12 Days of Christmas continues tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Start with Sunrise.
And that's all the news to now. We'll have updates throughout the evening. And of course, I'll see you again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. But from all the Adelaide 17 for now, good night.